Hey, we're back. Coming at you from MBC. On this edition of Doc Talks, we're going to have Isabel tell us about her journey in Haiti and about Little by Little and what it's all about.
Thanks, Greg, for that great introduction.
You're welcome. Practicing all morning.
In 2009 was my first trip to Haiti. And the reason I went, actually, was because our oldest daughter, who was 14 years old at the time, wanted to go on a mission trip to Haiti. And we didn't know anything about Haiti, and we Googled it, and it was like, travel advisory, red, don't go. It was super scary advisory. So her being 14 at the time, I didn't really know what to do. We had just had our youngest son placed in our care as an infant, so we had a baby. So I didn't think that it was possible for me to go. But miraculously, just everything kind of came together so that I could go, even with an infant. We had children who were still in foster care, so we can't just have anybody take care of our children. It had to be, a legal foster home. So a lot of things had to come together for me to be able to go on that trip, and things came together. So we went to Haiti, and we got to meet kids we were sponsoring. We fell in love with them, went to their homes. We just had never been exposed to that kind of poverty before. And so we went home just like in love with Haiti and in love with its people. And so we ended up going back the next year, and that is when the earthquake in Haiti hit. So we were there about 5 days, and then while we were there, the large earthquake happened, and it was devastating. We were in an area where the two villages on each side of us, a lot of buildings fell down. So those two villages kind of swarmed the clinic that was at the orphanage that we were at the time. So because the clinics were closed, we didn't have, local doctors or nurses, nor could anybody contact them. So if you had hands on that trip, you were a nurse. So it was about 36 hours straight, I think it was, that we were just trying to help people stay comfortable. This trip in particular just magnified the desire to do something in Haiti. We saw how difficult Haiti was before the earthquake, and now this earthquake happened and took the little away from people that they already had. I started going back to Haiti just to help at the orphanage that our church at the time was connected with. And it was through that, as I got to know the kids a little more, started talking to the kids, they would start talking about their families in the village. And I would be shocked because I thought they were all orphans, is what we've always been told. And I realized that actually in this particular orphanage, 100% of the kids had a living parent and families in the surrounding villages. So that just blew my mind. I just couldn't understand that. So it led me on the discovery, and, Greg as well, to learn more about orphan culture and statistics of orphans. And I think the turning point for me, though, was I was on one trip where, and I had witnessed this before, there was two young moms actually that had left their children at the orphanage. And one in particular, she was quite ill, quite malnourished, and so was her child. Both came in, their hair was turning orange and just had the large distended bellies, very, very ill. She had left her son there, and the week we were there was nothing that could console this child. This child didn't care that this orphanage had health care, education, food. All he wanted was his mom. That just seemed like such an injustice to me, that there wasn't a system in place that could just help this mom and this child as a family get healthy, get food, get back on track, that the child had to be separated from the mother. And so we witnessed that child all week just be absolutely brokenhearted. And then we witnessed the mother leave brokenhearted as well. So after that trip, God had just put on my heart again to do something. I didn't know what. And then around the same time, you had been called to go on a mission trip to Nepal. Mm-hmm. And that was a miracle.
So when we moved to London, I was invited to go to Nepal on a missions trip with our church, and I didn't know why I was invited to go. I'd never said anything that indicated that I wanted to go on a missions trip.
He was angry.
I never implied
not
that.
happy?
There was absolutely no reason. In fact, I felt like I was being picked on. Like, why me? Why are you choosing me? Are you just trying to center me out or something? Do you need somebody to pick on?
I could not get him to go to Haiti. Like, he just was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not a mission trip guy. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go. And it was very hard for me because all the reasons why I didn't want to go were basically selfish reasons. I was afraid to fly. I was afraid to eat foreign food. I like my personal space. I like my quiet. All these kind of things that were not going to occur traveling for 20 some odd hours on an airplane to a country I'm unfamiliar with, to a language I'm unfamiliar with. But needless to say, I tried to look for every reason why not to do it. And it just came down to one word that Isabel shared with me. So I was sitting in Nova Scotia at a business meeting and at my previous job, and I was texting the global missions pastor saying, I'm not going. Then I text Isabel and I said, hey, I told him I'm not going. And she said, well, if that's your conviction. And that word conviction just punched me in the stomach like nothing, because it was that realization that it wasn't my conviction not to go, it was my flesh not to go. So then I text John, the global missions pastor, and said, I don't know if I'm going. We need to talk, because I just at this point was all over the place. The way he describes it is that he picked up his phone and he saw messages from me. I'm not going. I don't know if I'm going. Maybe I'm going. We need to talk. And that was all because of that word conviction. Mm-hmm. Needless to say, I went. And it was, as I'm sure most people say in a missions trip, it was life-changing for me.
Then both of our hearts became like mission focused. But again, all that together, God kind of popped the idea in my head to start an economic empowerment project that would help these families stay together. And I had no idea. I have no business background and I have no design background. But it was what I always felt God calling me to do. So I kind of walked forward into, I guess, kind of a darkness, not knowing what I was going to do. And I just kind of allowed God to shed the light as I stepped forward. And he did every step of the way. And it's been an amazing journey.
Little by little now, what it does is we provide raw materials that we bring to Haiti so that the families we work with manufacture products, jewelry, necklaces, things like that, so that we can offer them job opportunities with the goal of orphan prevention through job creation.
We work on a referral basis, so everybody who comes to us has been at some point been in that point of desperation at wanting to leave their child at an orphanage. A lot of the women that come to us have not threaded a needle or used a pair of scissors before, so they are learning a skill. We do not work with artisans, we create artisans. And how this helps them is Haiti is a country that is suffering through such an immense level of poverty, and poverty is not just for them, it's not just not having food and clean water and stuff. Poverty is an identity, we are who we tell ourselves we are, and poverty really becomes an identity to people. When you ask people in poverty, what does poverty mean to you, their answers are rarely about not having food. A lot of the times it's about nobody sees me, or I'm alone.
Isolated.
Yeah, feeling isolated. Our desire in Little by Little is to help people in a holistic way. So, that their identity no longer comes from poverty. Their identity comes from Jesus. When I became a Christian, my whole identity changed because I realized that I was a child of God and I was loved by him. And so a whole holistic goal of Little by Little is to help people out of poverty in a holistic way, so that it's not just bring them out of poverty financially, but it's bring them out of poverty spiritually and emotionally.
Thanks for watching. We will see you next time where we talk about safe families.
Keeping families together globally and
locally.
From the head to the heart, you take me on a journey.
Oh, hey, a boat.